Hi everyone, it's me, Darlene. Yesterday I made a no-sew summer vest beach cover-up using a skirt. It was one of my Upcycled Fashions, and I was so intrigued by that idea that I was curious to make it not using a skirt, but just using some yardage. And I asked if you guys would like to see that. You said yes, and since it's fresh on my mind, I am just going to go ahead and make one. This fabric is I don't know, not iffy, but it's not really like, I would have liked a t-shirt type fabric, but I don't have that. This is polyester. It still should be okay for a no-sew project. I'm doing this one as a no-sew. I will be doing this as a sew project a little later, but I just want to be able to give you guys an idea of what you can buy for yardage if you want to go ahead and make yourself one of these cover-ups and you don't want to use a skirt. And my goodness, you can be free to choose whatever print you want if you go to a fabric store and buy some stretchy fabric. So most stretchy fabric, not all, is usually 55 to 60 inches wide. Now the skirt that we used yesterday had a bottom flare of 64? Yes, I think it measured 32 across, so like 64. That's a little bit wider than this. This is 60 wide. So if you can get fabric 60 wide, then you're good to go. And I had only cut the fabric about 35 inches long, and that was good. So you would only need a yard of fabric. So 60 wide, try to get that. I would say 55 wide or around there, 54, 55 wide would work too. And you would only need a yard of fabric. So when you buy a yard of this fabric, you're going to have salvage edges. Those are the edges that are finished. And you're just going to put those together. And if you buy a yard, then you should be good to go. Unless you want to make it shorter, you can. I have to measure out a yard because I have more than a yard here. So I'm going to go ahead just and fold this again to make it a little easier. I'm going to even off this edge. Even if you buy a yard of fabric, you're probably going to have to even it off because they don't always cut nice and perfect like that. So I'm evening it out. And now I'm going to measure a yard. Let's see, I have 20 inches here, 30. I'm going to go ahead at 36. That's a yard. It'll be probably a little bit longer than what we made yesterday. And I'm going to go ahead and cut across at that notch that I made. And I have this left over for another project. Now I'm going to make this one a little bit bigger than the one we made last night. I am not going to make it my size, so this will still be on my mannequin. I do want to make myself one, but not in this particular fabric. When I do make myself one, I will actually model it for you, and that will be a supersize one, and I will make it probably on camera, so if anybody else my size would like to make one, but we're just making a smaller one today. The first thing we're going to do is we need to trim off the salvage edge. This, in fact, will end up being the front of the vest. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this in a way that I can see what I'm doing. And without any rulers, because I'm wild and crazy like that, I'm just going to go up and just trim off all the salvage. Now, while we're still folded this way, let's go ahead and mark this fold because this is now going to be the center of the back. So that might come in handy for us to go ahead and mark that. And because I don't want to be hurting myself on straight pins, I'm just going to put a safety pin on the edge, top and bottom, and that's going to mark my center back for me. Now I'm going to open this up, take one end and put it toward the center back. I can tell because I have safety pins there. I know it's hard for you to see, but I just folded one end in to the center back where the safety pin is. And I matched it up at the top also. And then I'm going to take the other side and pull that in like that. This is a very free-flowing garment, so don't worry about perfection at all. So now I have the front here in the middle. This is where it opens up. Now I'm going to straighten all this out And I'm going to fold this in half, likey so. Now, since this is wider fabric, we're going to have a much wider shoulder area, but we can narrow it down somewhat. Just remember, this is the center back. We have the safety pins here to prove it. Inside, we have the center front. So what we have folded over, these two edges here, those are our side seams, but we don't actually have a seam like we did on the skirt. But that's the side seam. So now we want to cut the hole for the underarm. And since the fabric is much wider than what we had when I was making the skirt, I'm going to start in, let's see. All right, I'm going to try to give you an exact measurement as to where I'm going to start cutting the armhole in case you want to make one just like this. But do remember, I haven't done this yet before, ever, so I could screw up royally. I have the center back at the end of my mat. You can just use a measuring tape if you don't have a mat. And I'm going to start cutting, I'm going to say 9 inches in. So from the center of the back to here, 9 inches is where I'm going to cut. I just made a notch there. I want to take it down, I think we liked 14 inches. So I'm going to move this to the edge of my mat. So I'm just going to cut from my notch to like the 14-inch mark, right here. I just do it freehand to 14-ish. Now we have the sides of the armholes. Now I'm going to open this up again. We have 2 things left to do. We have to round off the front and we have to make the neck in the back. So now we're going to take our 2 open seams in the front, put that together. Just match those 2 fabrics up as best as you can with no worries and lay that down. Now I'm going to make the strap, let's say 5 inches. Let's go 5 inches. So from the armhole, I'm going to count 5 inches and I'm going to make a notch there. And that's where I'm going to start the neckline. Now we don't need to cut all the way down the front because it's already open. So we just need to cut here to just like to kind of round it off a little bit. So I'm just going to cut at an angle like that. And that's it. No matter how you cut that, it's going to be fine. Now we have to go do our neck in the back. And you know what? While I have this shoulder here together, I'm going to cut my slits for knotting. I'm going to make 4 slits, so we'll have 5 knots. And I'm going to cut them about 2 inches long. 4. Now we need the back. Make sure your pins are kind of to the top here. There's the center back. Lay that down. Straighten it out a little bit. And now we want to leave 5 inches here on the shoulder. So just measure down 5 inches. Make a little gash there. Now we want to make our shoulder a little bit deep. So cut about 3 inches, like practically straight down. And then curve to the back. Remember, we want a deep back of the neck because when we make the knots, it's going to raise that neck up. And now I'm going to cut my 4 slits about 2 inches down. Now we are ready to tie knots and be done. Open this up. We can remove our pins that mark the back center. Oh, the other pin is on the cutoff part. This will be pretty in future quilt blocks. I could put a fusing on the back. I don't throw away any scraps. So here's our neck in the back. And here's our front. And we're just going to tie knots. We're just going to take 1 tab from the back and the matching tab from the front and just tie a knot. You just, like you're going to tie a shoe, but then do it again in the opposite direction. Do believe that's a square knot. Just tie a knot. Any knot that you can tie, and you'll be good. Now I'm going to tie the next 2. You know, if you're ever afraid to try something because you think you don't understand the instructions and you think you won't know what to do, just try it. Just go ahead and try it. I promise you, when you get to this step, if you're not sure how to tie a knot, you're going to figure it out after 20 attempts, okay? It'll be less than 20 attempts, I promise you. I just think people are so afraid to just go ahead and try something because they think they're going to get it wrong. There is no real right or wrong to any of this stuff. Whatever way you end up doing it is the exact perfect way for it to be done. Just don't worry about it. And if you accidentally tie two tabs together that were the wrong two tabs, or you tied it, you know, the right side to the wrong side, that's how you learn. When you go to put it on and you say, hey, that's all wrong. That's twisted. That's how you learn. And then you untie them and you try again. There. Well, that still made a very not wide shoulder. I'm very thrilled about that. And look how cute that is. And if you don't want these little tabs sticking out, and there's another one, you can always just go ahead and trim them. I like them there, and I'm going to keep them there. So this is coming out nice. And it's just like when you watch me cut things, if you think, well, I don't even know what she did, or just do whatever you feel like doing. You don't have to have the exact same duplicate item that I made. Whatever you do your way will be still a perfectly good way, just different. We have the same thing going on here. I'm taking the back tab and the front tab, and I'm just going to tie a knot. And I got the other side done too. And now we are done. And I think this is going to be so pretty. Let's just go put it on the mannequin and see. And I do believe we have another hero. This came out fantastic. And I can't remember, it looks about the same length as the one that I made using the skirt. The thing that I love about this is we know that you can make it wider, and it's still, you know, I thought this shoulder was going to be like down to here. So I am convinced that I will be able to make a supersized one for me and still make that work. And you can open it up a bit. And it looks good, just pushed back as you're walking in the breeze. Our neck came out perfect again. Just love this so much that we can do something so easy. And look how the fabric determines if it looks dressy or not. There's a side view open. Now the armhole is saggier on this one because our fabric was wider. It's because there's room here for a larger woman. Obviously, if your body is wider, it's going to fill this up, but you still can have a narrow shoulder on the top. I just love it. So it can be worn closed. I just love it so much. I love the whole idea of this. So what I'm going to do is try making a sewn version of one of these. And I may use cotton, and I may use some ragging technique. So we'll see how that goes. But so far, I think this is a winner. You don't need a skirt. Just buy yourself a yard of stretchy fabric, preferably 60 wide. If you can only get stretch fabric that's narrow, you can always put some pieces together, sew some together, and make some side seams. This is a yard of fabric, so you can see it goes probably about halfway down the thigh. If you wanted full length, a yard and a half should do that for you. That would be 54 inches of fabric. So I think that would be floor length for most people, or at least very close to it. You can always go a yard and a quarter if you want it just a little bit longer, like maybe below the knees. Once you know how to make one of these with just stretch fabric and no sew, you can make them any length, any size you want. So I will be trying to do a supersize one, and I will be trying to do one as a sewn garment with ragging. It's something I've made up in my head. So thank you so much for watching, and I will be back with more soon. Bye!
I would guess that this particular size that we made with 60-inch wide fabric would fit most women up to size 2X or maybe 3X. If your bust, belly, or hips are all smaller than, I'd say, 50 inches, then this would fit fine. If you are larger than that, then stay tuned for my supersized version.